Good day. When we were talking to you last week, we had about 1.7 million infected cases with coronavirus. Today, the number has moved to 2.2 million, 89,772, with about 160,169 deaths. The USA remains the hardest hit country with 735,287 cases with 39,090 deaths. But the European continent is the hardest hit continent with about 1,020,012 cases with 99,139 deaths thus far. And this has pushed Cameroon to begin to celebrate. But we are saying that it's still a little bit premature because even though the number of recoveries are increasing by the day, it's yet not time to celebrate, and that's why the Minister of Public Health and the authorities of public health are still sounding the alarm bell for people to stay indoors if they can and go out just when it's necessary, and also to wear face mask like the Prime Minister said the other time. And the whole of this week, even in the studio around me, everything has been disinfected. All our technicians are wearing face masks. So for this circumstance, that's because I'm talking to you, so that you get me clear, I put my own aside. So let's keep the measures and keep safe. Whoever would wither the storm will pick the fruits. To do that with me on the program this midday, we still be talking about coronavirus. We have somebody who likes environmental issues so much, and this is something which he holds dear to his heart. Elias Ngalame, the publisher of the Outlook newspaper. You're welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
We have Dr. Eric Tandy. He is a member of the member of the task force that is handling this at the level of the ministry. You're welcome again.
Yeah, thank you, John.
We have Professor Pius T. He is principal investigator for HIV-free project funded by PEPFAR and the director of CBC Health Services and a specialist in public health. You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
And we, our last guest will be joining us shortly, Professor Felicien Ntonye. He will be joining us. So let's start the program with our press review. Emmanuel Avemue.
The fight against the coronavirus pandemic floods newspaper columns this week. Cameroon Tribune reports on the mandatory wearing of face masks that began on Monday. To municipal updates, BR orders compulsory masking. Cameroon Insider headlines, compulsory wearing of masks from Monday. Then the Post newspaper sees Cameroonians on red alert as government begins compulsory masks control. The Horizon writes, PM decrees compulsory wearing of mask. But the Guardian Post quotes Dr. Nick Nwanyam, COVID-19 is a blessing for developing nations, before announcing that 4 pharmacies sanctioned for selling fake chloroquine. The Voice newspaper questions COVID-19 final nail on Sonora coffin. Then Kamasej Boya embarks on community sensitization on COVID-19. On municipal updates at a time, the Star headlines, let the people suffer. According to the paper, COVID-19 has added to crisis in Northwest, Southwest, Boko Haram insurgency, irregular power supply, water cuts, and lots more, while taxes imposed on individuals remain same. The Post writes, after pressure, strike, Biya waits in with presidential pardon. To the Horizon, Biya diffuses time bomb, decongests prisons. In the eye of municipal updates, it is timely. To Cameroon Tribune, it is presidential surprise at a time. The Guardian Post says Ayok Tabe, other Anglophone crisis inmates, excluded from clemency. Then the Northwest population begs governor to ban inter-urban transport for the region to remain COVID-19 free on the Post newspaper. 90 billion francs is earmarked to reconstruct Northwest Southwest on the Post newspaper, just when PM entreats Ta Song-jong to get to work. On the municipal updates, questions, reconstructing war-torn Northwest Southwest, which magic wand for Ta Song-jong? The Horizon wants to know if reconstruction before reconciliation. At a time, the paper reports that Cameroon separatists relaunch attacks to reject state reconstruction plan, just when Cameroonians split over Reconstruction Commission for Northwest Southwest on the Post newspaper. Then Frundi's emblematic right-hand man bows out on the Guardian Post. To Cameroon Tribune, Joseph Mbandam, firebrand SDF MP, passes on. The Horizon presents the life and death of Honorable Mbandam Joseph before Cameroon Insider presents the life and times of political heavyweights. To The Voice, Honorable Joseph Mbandam, long-serving SDF MP, National Assembly Vice President, is dead. Municipal Updates then dedicates an entire page to Ni Mbandam from 1955 to 1922. Just when the Guardian Post writes, scandalous, SDF maintains suspicious silence over Mbandam's death. The paper says close to a week after his demise, no official statement has been made by the party. Before questioning, has Frundi abandoned SDF to political merchants? The appointment of Gaston Komba as new Secretary General of the National Assembly, the audience granted the French ambassador to Cameroon by President Paul Biya, and the arrest of 60 persons in a bar for drinking after 6 p.m. in Douala also form stories reported by the papers this week. Let's now end our press review with this story on the Chronicle Times, where ex-Amba General Leonard Nambere spits fire, says activists Eric Tato, Tapang Ivo, others demonic, then announces readiness to fight exposed separatists while cautioning bloodshed will not solve Anglophone crisis and calling Ambazonia a failed project. Until I come your way again, this is your Hour with the Press.
Okay, I would like to welcome our fourth guest, Professor Felicien Tonye. When we were talking off microphone, he told me he's not only a psychiatrist, but a child and adult psychiatrist, right?
Yes, that is, you are a psychiatrist, then you go back for specializing on child and adolescents.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Then they call you a pedopsychiatrist.
Okay, let's now go to the subject which we are discussing, the coronavirus, the sing-song around, which has upset the world, turned the world upside down. What's the exact situation at the emergency center? You just moved from there to here. So how would you, Cameroon's situation today, the infection?
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, CRTV management team and the viewers of Press R. We'll continue to sensitize the population and give reality as usual as far as the situation in Cameroon is concerned. It has quite been a very busy week for the Ministry of Public Health and the team.
At the center, I want to say.
At the center in general, no, and even other parts of Cameroon, because decentralization process has been ongoing.
Yes.
But we try to coordinate the various levels.
Yes. So that is what's the situation like?
Yeah, actually, just like the figures the Prime Minister, head of government, announced before the weekend, we are about 996 confirmed positive cases in the country. But the good news is that we have about 305 recoveries already from our health facilities that have been discharged.
Okay.
And then, but unfortunately, we have 42 cases that have bowed out from the race as of now.
Say, you use a soft word, bowed out. People would think they maybe in the dancing arena say they have died.
Yes, they have died, from, unfortunately.
Now, how many regions are affected thus far?
Actually, for now, we have just 2 regions that have not yet recorded a confirmed case, and that is Extreme North region and Northwest region. Beside these 2 regions, all the other regions have been touched, with lastly the North region recording a case as of yesterday. Okay. Unfortunately.
The center remains the hardest hit region?
Yes, for now. The center is still with the highest number of cases.
Okay. What has been the outcome of the massive test which you carried out in Douala?
Yeah, it has quite been very impressive because the turnout was good, but the process is still ongoing.
Okay.
But the population has to remain continuously very vigilant because analyses are still in process, and with the decentralization process, the other regions are taking the relay so that we should be able to cut the chain by getting more persons being screened.
Okay.
As the last contingent of reagents, or I say test kits, that were a little bit in limitation, have actually
limited supply.
Limited supply has actually made their way into the country. So in the days ahead, we're going to have more massive screening of the population.
From the figures we get from the communication from the ministry, it looks like the recovery rate is climbing fast. Am I right?
That's right.
Why? To what would you attribute that to?
Now, I think the management procedure or the clinical procedure that have been put in place have been very, very successful as far as the patients are concerned.
You mean the treatment
Yes,
procedure?
the treatment procedure.
Okay.
We should appreciate the medical team here for the hard work that they are putting in place. So the medical team have been trying their best so that they can actually manage this situation. I think I should take this opportunity also to explain to the population that being or reporting or being positive shouldn't be a taboo, because it is something that is being managed and treated.
And there's one serious problem which cropped up. They say medical officials or some medical officials are trading the treatment and the test.
Yeah, it should be.
Money.
Yeah, it should be very, very important to reiterate here, based on the minister's words that he released, that some malpractices have been going on. Although we praise the medical team and collaborators that are in the field, but then we discourage and insist that this kind of practices is very bad. They should not take any franc from anybody as far as COVID-related cases are concerned.
Okay.
The head of state have made this very clear.
And that treatment is free?
Treatment is free at all levels.
The test also is
all
free?
levels,
from
diagnosis to treatment.
We want to extend our condolences to you. You lost your mother, and you were away for some time. So when you were in the southwest, moved over to the littoral and to the central region, how did you look at the people? How were they in terms of their psychology, or the disease, the conversations in public and private places?
Yes, Joe, I observed that the degree of responsiveness of the population to the measures put in place by the government was different in different zones. In Limbe, where I was based for 2 weeks, there is a lot of sensitization, and the population was responding very positively, because the wearing of masks is compulsory there. All of licenses, you hardly find somebody drinking in an off license, because the police are there to arrest anyone who violates those. And the local council is carrying out sensitization by the day, including local quarter heads. Okay. You imagine they have they used to have what they call local council, local quarter heads referee, who gets up as early in the morning to announce that don't forget your mask. If you forget your mask, you risk falling in the hands of the police. Okay. So wearing of mask,
like the town criers of the
town criers,
of the old.
Yes, of the old. The wearing of mask is really, really effective in Limbe. But unfortunately, but as I entered Douala, I realized a very marked difference. People were drinking freely in the off licenses, and wearing of masks is selective. Some people have them on, some don't have. So I wonder why the application vary.
Okay. No, you even gave the reason for why Limbe was that. Now, Professor T. Pius, you're from the Northwest. What's the situation there like? And Dr. Tandy just said that no case has been recorded there, but I know that you people are still expecting that, and so you're taking all precautions that you can.
Thank you so much, Joe. And I want to say, yes, we've not recorded a case, probably because comprehensive testing is not being done everywhere, or it could also be that the control measures are there. We have a control team at Matazin. People passing in from the other regions are screened to ensure that if your temperature was higher than normal, you should be taken care of separately. It's one of the measures that we are putting in place. At the regional level, we have teams that the delegate put in place, and the regional team is there before the other ones that are at the district level, and we ensure that these teams are working hard and also collaborating with all the care providers, the missions, that is the faith-based organizations and private organizations, and everybody is working hard on this. Again, from the time the the Prime Minister put out the 13-point package, every person has incorporated those into the regular prevention strategies in the hospitals, in the health facilities, to ensure that they're taking those measures serious. So maybe that's part of the...
Yeah, somebody just jested on this, or made a jest on this platform some time ago that confinement to you people is not a new thing.
Oh, yes, because in the CBC Health Services especially, we have been working on infection prevention since the advent of HIV and AIDS, and we are very, very strong in infection prevention. We've had international awards from the International Federation of Infection Prevention. And so when once somebody comes to the hospital is suspected of a condition that can be transmitted from one person to the other, he's isolated.
Okay.
I'm sure that is not only in our facilities.
Okay,
also
we'll come back to that shortly.
Yeah.
Professor Antonio, the other time we were here, the Prime Minister had just put forward the 13-point package, which has moved over to 20 now, given the 7 others which he made. What assessment do you make of public reactions to those 20-point points which the Prime Minister put forward to help prevent the spread of this disease?
Thank you very much, Joe. I'm really happy as a Cameroonian, to see that in Southwest, for example, the measure have been, there's an adherence of the communities. I also know that Douala could be very difficult, but yet we are moving forward. That is what we said this last time. Community mobilization should be a strategy. Community participation should be a strategy. Now that the community are feeling responsible, they just are there and things becomes very easy. What used to happen is that the measure of the Prime Minister are very, very good measures, but yet the understanding of people is not still meeting the level. That is why what I noticed that in Saudi, for example, at the quartier level, there is a kind of decentralized communication process. This brings people to feel responsible, they feel concerned, then they participate. The policeman could be there, but it can also be a conflictual situation. What we should avoid, that instead of bringing people to feel concerned and participate, they will feel as being forced to prison, because confinement at the beginning is the way of putting somebody in prison.
Exactly. And would people, this disease or this virus has been around for the past 1 month and more, shouldn't this be a habit now, in part and parcel of the people, that they are embracing this because there's danger outside?
Yes. First of all, they were afraid. They will think that, how comes I can be confined? How am I going to eat? But yet, when they understood that they could be behind a mask and feel protected because there is a barrier, then this became a mode of confinement which was less stressful than being locked in a house. You understand? And when you propose a strategy to the community, you should move that strategy and see if it is possible to be done or not.
Okay.
When a medical doctor prescribes a treatment, if I prescribe to you a medication that is costly and you don't have the means, then I'm not prescribing anything. Okay. So we are working with our community because sociologists should be there, anthropologists should be there, to understand the difference between people of Southwest, people of Littoral, people of Northwest, and every condition. This is a work which should not be only an hospital work. Okay. It's a community-based, that's as I said the last time, multi-sectoral. But I am just here to say that when I saw Cameroonian behind the mask,
you were happy?
Yes, I was happy because I used to shout that this is the first barrier before we could do other things.
One of the big problems with the mask is the quality and variations.
Definitely. We would have been, proposing
an ideal condition.
But COVID is moving so fast that the Prime Minister himself understood that by waiting the standardizations and all those things, we're going to be overwhelmed by this. If you look at a country like France, they have come back to the multi-usage washable mask, whereas we were just there stressed, waiting, expecting an importation of new masks, which will
people are already producing them.
Isn't it? So I think that the country is adjusting according to our level and according to our reality. And we have people who are intelligent enough to create
exactly.
and to adjust.
Okay. Professor T, this is a public health problem, right?
Yes, it is.
So when it's a public health, how do you approach such an issue?
We approach it first of all from the preventive side of it, which the government is doing, and that is key to the prevention of the COVID-19. You don't wait until you come down with the disease before you are treating, because in public health, when you see a disease that is transmitted from person to person, what you want to do is to do case identification rapidly. And then once you identify a case, you do the tracing of the contact of that person, and you bring that person and test. In which case, you need to be able to identify those cases. How do you identify them? You do testing. And in Cameroon, we have limited testing. I'm happy that Dr. just said now we have the test kits, which we have not been able to have. First thing is even having the kits that you actually can take the specimens from the patient. Those kits were not there to take the specimens enough. So even in the Northwest, Southwest, where you see that the prevalence rate was very low or not even there, these kits were not really available in good quantities. Again, testing has been mostly only in Yaoundé, and now it is being decentralized, and we're waiting for that it should come through quickly for case identification, because you cannot do case identification only in one spot. We have 10 regions. If you can pick up the specimens quickly, samples quickly, and transmit them to the testing site, and they are tested rapidly too, and you quickly get your result that this person is positive, this is positive, then you start contact tracing. How many people has this person exposed to the disease? And you pick up the cases quickly. That is prevention. And in that way, the disease will not spread in the population so rapidly. And I believe that once it is decentralized, test kits are enough. And also, the kits for taking specimens are also enough to take specimens quickly. We will actually
succeed in overcoming this coronavirus. Now, you hosted an international conference here under the auspices of the Ministry of Public Health on public health. And when you look at the outbreak of this COVID-19, how would you assess it in terms of public health and human attitude?
Human attitude, I mean, it's a very difficult thing to cope with. It's a very difficult thing to change. Attitudes don't change rapidly. I'll give you an example. If you see a country like Hong Kong, Hong Kong has very low prevalence rate because of attitude, because of the people's attitude towards the use of face masks, for instance. Face masks in Hong Kong is part of uniform. They use it as part of the dressing code. And therefore, you go there, you see a very low. Now, when you come here, you introduce a face mask that people have to put on the face mask. The first thing is to make the people know how to put it correctly, and secondly, to make them keep it on all the time. Now, you already heard that in Limbe, it is well utilized. In Douala, it may not be well utilized. Now, even in preparation for this, I went around the town a bit, and I was really astonished to see that in the markets, people are using it, okay. But in the off-licenses, drinking places, almost no person had it on.
Because beer has to be going in.
Well, that's the irony, and you want to ask, how do you sit in an off-license to socialize, and yet you have a face mask, how do you even drink, and so on. So it was like normal, but you have to put side by side, be infected and taking a beer in. Which one is more important, to protect yourself or to take the drink in? So we need to do a lot of sensitization. Yes, people are accepting it, but communication is very important to tell them how to put it on. Again, the bulk of the people had it under their chin. When you have it under the chin or below your nostrils, that is not effective use of the face mask. And these ones can be washed. This one, I've washed it. You can wash it as many times as possible and iron it, and it will be okay.
Now, the problem is with some people say when they put them on, sometimes they feel like getting suffocated.
Yes.
It is normal that once you prevent your breathing, you feel as if you are choking or you are not breathing well. But you have to get used to it, because we are fighting a pandemic. And you cannot expect to be very comfortable in every situation when you are fighting a pandemic.
Even staying at home.
Yes, or staying at home is not comfortable.
Yes, I think maybe let me
join
you and tell you that there's something else we can do, because we are here for the well-being of the communities. When you see somebody who is unable to stay behind a mask, he's not just joking. It's a part of mental pathology. People who are claustrophobic will never stay behind that.
Okay.
There are people who cannot get inside an airplane and travel.
Yeah. Yes.
You need to give them something.
I have a friend who behaves that way.
So
yeah.
I'm saying that we should add mental assistance to people who cannot stay behind a mask. Just don't tell them, go behind the mask. You have to give something, and we know what to give to people who are unable to stay
What do
behind.
we give?
A
drug?
You give, yes, anxiety realizers.
Okay.
The person who is unable to stay behind the mask, he's anxious. And when being anxious, he can even undergo panic.
Okay.
And when he's panicking, he will not stay behind the mask.
Okay.
This is true. It is even true for those who were supposed to go on confinement. Okay. There are people who cannot stay in and locked inside. They feel confined and they need to breathe. There are people who cannot take a lift.
That's true.
Yes, but this is a mental...
Yes, I'll come to you shortly.
This is what I'm saying, that
it's a mental problem.
Yes, we have Cameroonian. We are facing a global threat. But we should take in account specificities of our one and the others, because if I'm fragile in one point, don't ask me to run like one who's not fragile. We should take in account the mindset, the mental health of Cameroonian when facing this, because the vulnerable will fall when the other strong will stay.
Now, if I tell you, or I ask you, tell Cameroonians what to do if they feel uncomfortable with staying in or wearing a mask, what would you say?
This should be part of the protocol, the protocol of the healing protocol. We should add that. If among us there are some who are feeling anxious or unable to stay, there is this it's not only to give chloroquine.
You say it.
I am saying that.
What is to be done?
Yes, but I'm not asking Cameroonian to go and look for psychotropes and drinks. It should be prescribed by somebody who's capacitated and who have diagnosed that. You have come to him and tell him that you are unable to stay behind this thing. I'll choose something which is medicine. I'll give it to you. It will not be the same. It's not that everybody will go and look for a psychotrope. No. It can be, there are many drugs. It can be a beta blockers. It can be something. But I need to choose that according to your health condition.
All right.
That's a medical approach. I think there's a public health approach to it.
Yes.
Please try to even isolate yourself in your own interest. Do not even just go to look for a drug to take in order to wear a mask. Isolate yourself in your own interest and in the interest of the person that is close to you. And the fact that you cannot isolate yourself is not also the same that you cannot wear a mask. So these people are two different people. There are some that don't like isolation and there are some that don't like the mask. If you do not like the mask, isolate yourself. Keep away from where you can from where you can get infected or where you can infect somebody.
That's
good. Yeah, Professor Dr. Tandy wanted to chip in something. I'll get to you.
I just wanted to chip the point that when we talk of confinement, it means that you are staying in an environment in your home. It's not like you have a phobia for it. Staying at home doesn't mean you are in a concave. You are living in an environment where you pass the night.
You are not in a concave. If you move around Yaoundé of the past month or so, you would notice that the amount of or the number of vehicles on our streets have dropped.
That's right.
So it means that people are staying at home, but not maybe. It's a good thing, but not maybe up to what
we shouldn't neglect.
Yeah, which is very good. And then coming to these face masks and being allergic to it, I think we have advised many times on this panel that you could put it intermittently, meaning if you want to talk with somebody, it should be on. You should have it on.
Or if somebody is talking to you.
You should equally put it. And then you could take a step from the environment. You take in air a bit. You just pull out the mask a bit, and then you take in air. We know that it's a barrier for normal circulation of oxygen. But
breathing,
once you have to go out from your home and you have to meet somebody for a discussion, you can talk and and then you shift a bit, and you take it up to inhale some
to
oxygen.
breathe well.
But the trap is that if we start changing like this, people will be, at least every Cameroonian should be behind the mask. Those who cannot cope the mask,
the bottom line.
You should assist them.
You made a statement.
But we should assist them, because if you start saying removing, putting.
The importance of the mask, I listened to Professor Fuche, a Cameroonian scientist based in Sweden, yesterday. He was responding to the decision by the PM to make mask wearing imperative. So that is the best decision this far, because as the science is evolving, and research has shown that the virus survives 45 minutes in the air, and that it can survive up to 2 hours on the ground. So social distancing alone doesn't suffice. So you know the implication of that. So the mask wearing is really, really imperative.
Definitely.
All right. I'd like us to watch this report by one of our reporters on this problem of mask wearing.
Between Cameroonians and their masks is this large margin on which is written their love for culture and tradition. Take a look at the pile of masks out for sale to notice the dominance of local colors. The familiar togo and dub fabric come in handy in designing a face covering to hide from the coronavirus.
When we are in front of insecurity, the first thing of each person is to get back in their community, to get back in their family, to find the possibility to face the situation.
Observers have been quick to raise, you can only use what you've got. Even our urge for modernity has not made us drift from our traditions.
Even Cameroonian society is open to modernity. That shows us that our society have their socio-cultural roots, and we are in struggling between tradition and modernity, and we mobilize our traditional entrenchment to react to facing this sanitary crisis.
Wearing a mask altogether is embedded in our culture, the fearful masquerades we've grown accustomed to, and we often paint our faces to appear as a mask during festivals. So back again to our roots, we can't help but look like masquerades in this mask raid. Even wearing a mask doesn't mask our cultural identity, does it?
You watched that report?
Yes. This is good. You can see that there's a lot of sale of face masks in the public. But what I observed with it when I went around town yesterday was that people take and measure to see whether it fits, and then they put them aside and measure the next one. That is not good also, because it is also a means of transmitting if you were already living with the virus. It is the really good thing that they are really being so. If you can try to package them in such a way that when you buy one and tear, you should use. You don't measure it and keep, measure this and keep. That is not really a good practice.
Okay. All right. And now, let's talk a little bit about the treatment methods which are on offer in Cameroon. We discovered that the recovery cases are rising very fast. What are you doing as a magic solution to it?
Yeah, I think we have protocols that are being used, and these protocols are specific based on the patient you have in front of you. You know, there are some cases that are simple, but there are some cases that need to go behind a respirator before they get healed. But for the normal cases, they simply go through normal procedure based on the evaluation of the patient you have in front of you.
Now, we've had, I think, 2 or 3 medical doctors die from the disease in Cameroon. What would you attribute that to? The exposure of the medical personnel, or that these had some infections before the attack of the virus, or that it's just they are just citizens like any other person who can die from the disease?
Yeah, Joe, you know, the exception of the health personnel that have died from COVID-19 is not only Cameroon. We've had it equally in other countries.
Yes,
but
yes.
More specifically, we might not know, except you get to the details of the individual history to know if it was associated with other illness or not. But what we know is that COVID COVID-19 was related in some of these deaths, and perhaps maybe in the course of handling this patient there might have been an error somewhere, or there might have equally be personal or individual interaction that has led to some of the consequences that we've had.
Yeah, you wanted to...
If I may contribute to that, normally our health personnel are the heroes that we have, and normally they become passionate when they see a patient who is in difficulty, and sometimes they may not have the personal protective equipment when they approach that patient. They are already at risk straight away. And some of those who are above 50 years are more vulnerable, especially if they, in addition, have one of the chronic conditions, either hypertension, diabetes, or any cancer. So they will be more vulnerable. And so there are multiplicities of reasons why a medical personnel would die. Either you were just passionate and wanted to help this patient and did not have enough protective equipment, which is the personal protective equipment, or it could be that that individual already is living with a condition that makes him more at risk than the rest of the workers.
You wanted to...
Yes, just to add that, Joe, you know, in our communities now we have asymptomatic cases, which means that cases that have not started producing any signs and symptoms. And all these medics that are receiving patients on a daily basis for consultation, you might come across with an individual who is asymptomatic, and you do a consultation, and within...
For an ordinary disease.
Yeah, for an ordinary disease. And again, within the incubation period, you might fall a prey without knowing that the patient that you were having.
The other day, Professor Mbacham said, let's not forget to take our T's and T's, different type of teas, and that it can help because warm stuff and eat warm food.
I think before reaching all that, we are talking about a serious matter. Medical doctors and paramedics, they are exposed.
Okay.
These are personnel which are exposed. And the doctor was talking about on asymptomatic cases who come. We receive, I am in CHEBONKEng, we receive patients every day. They're coming for many reasons. And unfortunately, you will find that there is one COVID who's inside among these. And when we meet that patient, it is already late. I'm here to say that we should not be waiting the case to be diagnosed before we take our protective condition. We should emphasize on protecting the health personnel. Right. We will not say that a personnel will not die. We know, like medical doctors, that we can catch an infection, even HIV, we have been exposed to that. But we don't go to that work to go and die. You understand? So we should need protective measure. And now
it's been made general.
And now, yes. We are improving because COVID is moving faster than we are doing.
Do not respond to him.
Yes, he's defending his condition. But I'm trying to say that we should move faster than we are doing. And the Prime Minister, we see, he was on 7, then he's now on 20 measure because he adjusts his strategy according to what is going on. And we should bring all our brains together to adjust day by day. Don't just stop that, okay, we have said this is how we do. Definitely treating a patient is about his case, specific case. You will not say, I've treated one COVID like this, I'll do the same with the other one. The case which is in front of you presents a condition and you have to be able to do that.
Own peculiarities.
We need to protect our personnel. Now, today, the hospital themselves are organizing a kind of way in and way out so that in case an asymptomatic case come around, we could be protected. It will be unfortunate that you go to work and definitely you are exposed. That's it. But
it's just that normal. You people are the war front now. At the level of the health institution of the CBC, have you taken any specific precautions?
Yes, we have. There is one way, one out. There's one way in and one way out. And all who pass in, there is some, you take their temperature using the infrared thermometers, and then also hand washing for everybody that passes into the hospital. And at the entrance, there is already a room where if somebody looks abnormal or has some signs of the virus, we take the person straight into that room. And all who are working there have protective equipment to screen that individual and be sure that if it deserves to have a specimen taken, we'll send to the regional hospital. In each of the places, we work in 8 regions. And we are doing basically the same thing. And all staff in the hospital, we are not waiting only for that special room. Every staff that sees a patient has to have a face mask, on, face mask on, and to ensure that there's a sanitizer around. For every patient, immediately after that, you'd have to use a sanitizer.
Now, have you been able to have a corona case in one of your hospitals?
No, we have suspected cases that we have sent to whether
do you have possibilities of
in the southwest?
Do you have possibilities of treating any suspected cases?
No, we couldn't. We couldn't say we have because we don't have the capability to treat at this point.
So all now is
we can only give them.
Refer them to public.
We can treat for the signs that they present. We cannot say we are definitely treating because they have to be tested first and declared positive. And when they are declared positive, that is in Yaoundé and now La Quintini in Douala, we have not had any case that has been declared positive and sent back to us. There was only one that was sent back to the northwest, that when the delegate followed, the person answered back in Douala and so on, so we don't have the... In Douala, all those that are positive, none has come to our facility. If we were sent back to our facility, yes, we will treat, because we know what it takes to treat a positive case. But we haven't been given those cases that are positive yet, that I can say we are treating them in one of our facilities.
Now, Elias, there's so much talk about the communication around this virus, and one thing which many people, like you did cite earlier on, was involving the people. What's the press? The press has a key role to play in this critical moment.
Yes, the press has a key role to play, and I think they have been playing that role. They have been playing that role, getting consultation with the specialists. You know, it's a specialized area, and the role of the press here is just to relay what the information that they get from the medics or the scientists. So if you look at the content of and headlines of most newspapers in Cameroon today, it is COVID-19, because it is like the main beat in every newsroom.
Politics has died down a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think communication is very efficient, but yet maybe let's take an opportunity on this plateau to say that those fake news are more destroying. Destroying, because maybe we'll
especially on the social media.
Maybe maybe we'll have an opportunity to talk about what is the impact of stress on Cameroonian today.
I was moving to that
because definitely communication should be a communication that does not release stress among people.
Yes, I was moving to that because I wanted to say there's a lot. The confinement has brought stress to some people, and not only stress because of confinement, but the very fact that people think that there's something hovering around and they might fall prey to is making people very anxious.
And even changing their behaviors.
Of course.
Changing their behaviors. I was talking about a case of confinement who came to meet me. They were coming back home, one of these last flights coming back home, and they were questioning themselves, what is going to be our condition? So they are already stressed. When they came there to the airport, the behavior and the attitude of people around them were different. So there was a stress. Then they entered the buses and they were going from one hotel to the other. Maybe they were rejected or accepted. And when they were in an hotel, the attitude of people around them was different. So you cannot just say it's nothing. I know that it has an impact on biology, on psychology, and on attitude and behaviors.
We gather from you people that when somebody is stressed up, his immune system is affected.
Definitely.
And now, so how should people behave, try to manage this psychologically, the disease?
The first thing is communication. When I talk about communication, I'm not just talking about press. All that we are saying, even talking here, we should bring it in such a way that by teaching, it should not frighten the community. By teaching. All the information that you put on air should not frighten your people. If you see that it is frightening, because it has been evaluated before you use it, then you stop. Then you'll see that I'm used to tell my patient, don't listen to all those information that are coming on media, on social media, on coronavirus and so on. They are overwhelmed. And at the end, before going to bed, you don't even know what is the real point. Take now somebody who is confined in his room and who is just following all those information. The more he spends time inside the place, the more he's aggressed by all those. And I'm confirming that under stress, your immune system is reduced. This is scientifically evident. So we should avoid to put the world community under stress with immune system which is down when we are facing a virus like
So how should we get the public realize that this thing is real and that the danger is there?
The technique of communication, which are the words we are using, to who are the target we are addressing this world, because you cannot talk to a child the way you talk to an adult. You cannot talk to somebody who's HIV positive, like you're talking to somebody who hasn't got a disease. Yes, communication, I'm here to say that it should not be just talking. Communication is something, the message that passes has an effect, and it should be a positive effect, and I'm sure that we need to sit and build the messages before we send them on air.
Okay, and get the communication experts to
yes, I think
build
so.
them for us.
Yes.
I really have an issue here also, because we should be careful that people do not use excuses. That it is because of the way they communicated, it is because of the way this information was forced down on us, we were being made, because this is a serious matter. And in some countries, you are picked up in China. If you showed up outside without a face mask, you are picked up straight away and detained. And so we must reach a point where our people should take responsibility for their health and for the health of their brothers and sisters. If I find somebody sitting in a love dancing and drinking elbow to elbow with the other without a face mask, you cannot tell me that it's because he's allergic to it, because if he wears it, he feels uncomfortable, and so on and so forth. The hard messages need to be put to the people now to let them know that they are facing a crisis.
Yes,
we are at the verge of a
and quinine is bitter,
and the truth comes through the radio, comes through TV, comes through the newspapers. The ministry has put on lots of posters everywhere, and you need to read those. Let me just, we have talked about using drugs to make people feel better. There is that phobia that you need chloroquine because chloroquine helps. And there's a lot of fake chloroquine in the population now. We have tested, we have taken to our quality control labs, and it's nothing but cassava or just corn flour, and it doesn't have any active ingredient. I sent a number of them from Bingo to the Norway Regional Fund. They tested, there were no sign of medication on. So let's be careful. Even chloroquine is not used for prophylaxis. But they're saying that you should take it because it will prevent this. It doesn't. It may be used in managing the case, and it is used in combination with other drugs to treat, and not to prevent. And on prevention.
On prescription.
On prescription.
On prescription.
Yes.
So a drug should be given.
We're waiting for Teke. The online, we know we are streaming online, so people are reacting. I'll get yours before Elias.
Yeah, I want to say that, based on the government policy of decentralization, the whole package, and communication is one of the package that has been sent to the regions. And I guess even in our various communities, we have chiefs and we have responsible leaders. And I think all the population now are aware. We just have to refine the messages as days are going by. I think the government is doing actually much, and especially the Ministry of Public Health is putting in more effort.
Of the government.
Yes, putting in more effort to disseminate this information as much as we can to the population.
Elvis is already here. Good day, Elvis.
Hello, Joe. Quite a good number of reactions. We'll go straight away to Ndonmi George, who says government has prescribed measures that are welcome, but there are loopholes, especially at the level of effective screening in the affected regions. Mary Kilachin says Cameroonians should respect the law and not expect gendarmes to be behind them, and those who don't respect should be fined, with fines as high as 25,000 so that they can respect the law. GT Dezebara says we are supposed to lock down Yaoundé and Douala. Wandinga Mi says Cameroonians should be prayerful. Mbili Chia Clovis says for us to be successful, there should be no movement within the cities of Yaoundé and Douala. Kwa Akwongwi Ngwa gives 3 major points, which are some of the hindrances: inadequate capacity building, politicizing of actions, and funding deficit. Vincent De Paul Bikobo says he thinks it's necessary to search solutions in traditional areas and traditional herbal medicine. Shea Hyacinth says there should be Cameroonians should be humble and prayerful. And Chi Valentine says the president should institute more stronger measures. And
Maybe
we'll conclude with Shea Dominic Nwafo, who gives 7 points, like to check the COVID-19.
He wants to add to what the Prime Minister.
Okay.
All right.
Reducing fair practice amongst others.
Yes, I hope we end there. Thank you so much, Elvis. We will join you again same time next week when we'll be on with another in the series. Now, I'd like us to, before we pay tribute to Honorable Joseph Mbadam, I'd like us to touch on our last point, which usually I always qualify as do's and don'ts at this particular moment. What should we do? What should we not do? Where we are. I'll begin with you.
Yes, I think there's still a lot of work to be done at the grassroots level, especially with the local communities. Our traditional chiefs should get involved. There should be more use of local community radios in vernacular, in pidgin, in the language they understand best. Because if a keen observation will show you that the grassroots communities are yet to understand the importance of these preventive measures.
Okay. Dr. Tandy?
Yeah, what we should do is stay at home as much as we can, and if we must come out, put on a face mask.
Okay. Professor Pius T.
Government should accelerate the case identification by decentralizing testing to all the 10 regions and making sure that collective kits are available, as well as testing kits, the reagents should be available in those centers to test rapidly, identify, and do contact tracing. Okay. Every positive case, there should be contact tracing as urgently as possible to identify those that are exposed to the virus.
Now, you have a lot of health institutions. Would you accept that government decentralizes even at that level to...
we have a testing center in Mutengeni with all the panels to test today. Okay. If the reagents were there, we'll test today. And it is identified by the ministry already, the doctor knows. And if the test kits were there from the beginning, we should have been testing. The Northwest TB lab has the same panels to test in the Northwest region, and they have been waiting up to now. Okay. As soon as the reagents are there, Northwest will be testing, Southwest will be testing.
I heard that a plane came in, I think, a couple of days ago, if not yesterday, with what we need. Professor Ntone?
Yes, I am to say as a behavioral worker that be you positive or not positive, you should be behind a mask. Wash your hand, keep distance, move out only when necessary. We are going to curve that contamination. And I think it's my belief that if we do this, the data will show that the contamination will go down, and the data will show that we'll have less death. This is my belief as a medical doctor. But I'm still to say that don't wait to be tested before you feel concerned. Everybody is concerned. All of us are concerned. We should be behind the mask and respect the measure that the head of government has put in place.
Okay. A couple of weeks ago, or rather, on the 1st of March, the Constitutional Council had just made public the results of the last elections and asked for a rerun. And one of the guests we had here was Honorable Joseph Mbadam, who came in on behalf of the Social Democratic Front and was supposed to go for a rerun in the Northwest and the Southwest region. And earlier on this week, we heard that the cold hands of death had snatched Honorable Mbadam from us. I'd like, as a tribute to him, just give you a gist of what he said during that program on the 1st of March. Here. Okay. Apparently, we are waiting for our producer to get Honorable Mbadam set with the assistance of T.K. Julius to give you a gist of what he said on that day as part of our tribute to him. We know Joseph Mbadam had been a member of parliament for the Social Democratic Front for over close to 4 mandates at the National Assembly, was also vice president of the National Assembly and a key figure in the Social Democratic Front. When that report is ready, we'll have it. But maybe a word on Joseph Bandam?
Yes, I think Joseph Bandam was a key figure in the Social Democratic Front. It is a big loss for that party, but life, as they say, is a journey. It has its beginning, and like any other journey, it ends someday. So we just have to say, well, it's a regrettable departure, but that is life.
Okay. You were here, no? Yes, you were here on that day when Joseph Bandam was here.
Yeah, like any political leader or any political participant, each and everyone has his or her role to play in the community. And I guess Bandam is one of these leaders that have made his own contribution in his own way in shaping the political dimension of Cameroon, especially with the party he was representing. So as a personal somebody that I know, we only owe tribute to him and our condolence, sincere condolence to the family. We have to keep going and things need to keep getting on.
Okay. Professor Pius T, I'm sure you might not know him very personally, but you know that he comes from the Northwest like you.
I know he's from the Northwest like myself. Life is a journey, and we come into this life, we make contributions, and we eventually bow out of it. And so we just wish his family our sincere condolence.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Bandam, I've been following up this person for quite some time. There wouldn't have been democracy in this country without opposition. And I think these are people who showed us that, okay, you can think you are right, but he also thinks different.
Exactly.
And this is what have brought this kind of democracy in this country, where even sometimes foreigners will not understand what is going on. People feel free to give their theory. They are open-minded. And Bandam has been, for the whole time I was watching TV, he always had a particular point, which was added to the other points, showing that there's democracy in the country. In peace.
Thank you so much for those contributions. Unfortunately, we couldn't have the clip which we prepared for you for technical reasons, but that's the package we put on the program this midday. We have quite a rich package coming on CRTV with Tam Tam Weekend, and on CRTV News, you'll continue with the news and breaking news, of course, which we're following up. We just got from Dr. Tandy that a new case of coronavirus was detected in the North region. So, and from what he said, only the North region and the Northwest region are spared.
Extreme North.
The far North region, rather, are spared of coronavirus as of today. And statistically speaking, the world has 2,289,572 cases with 160 deaths, 160,169 deaths, with 581 recoveries, 627. And the USA remains the hardest hit country with 789,074 cases, with 41,742 deaths. But the European continent tops the chart with 1,020,012 infected cases, with 99,136 cases thus far. The African continent is still on, should I say, has been spared, not yet, because we're still facing the onslaught. But on the continent, we have 21,747 cases with 1,063 deaths and 4,928 recoveries. The most or the hardest hit countries on the continent are Morocco, Egypt, and Algeria and Tunisia, including South Africa. But Algeria has the highest number of deaths with 367 deaths thus far. Egypt and South Africa have over 3,030 infected cases. With that, we conclude, and I'm sure you would always put on your mask and wash your hands or disinfect your hands and your surrounding wherever need be. Don't hesitate. The danger is real. Good day.